Adam, speaking of Packhouse, I want to know because like a lot of people are tripping on you right now.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about this.
Brandon.
Okay, so number one, for all the Brandon fans, all the dark Brandon fans out there, he will be on the news tomorrow with the Viral Way. So make sure that you tune in if you want to see Brandon do some, analysis of the debate that we uploaded yesterday. But basically, there's a white conservative dude who's racist, admittedly racist. Mm-hmm. His name is iHypocrite. I've been following him on Twitter for a little while. He was in an argument with a dude on Twitter, a guy named Bryson, and they were supposed to do a debate. They wanted to do a debate. There was like a little bit of a call out, a challenge, like, oh, do you guys want to, you won't debate me. I'll debate you. Someone said, Adam 22 will host it. I said, I'll host it. That sounds great. Let's do it. The guy Bryson was confused about it. Basically, like he didn't know that it was going to be an IRL thing, so he thought it was supposed to be done over stream or whatever. So he wasn't available. But the guy iHypocrite had already flown out regardless. So I told him, I got a friend named Brandon who would be perfect for you to debate. I bring them together. They do a debate. It lasts about 2 hours. The majority opinion seems to be that Brandon absolutely
smoked his boots.
Oh, Brandon got on him.
Boochie W.
Brandon, I'm going to be real with you. Like, if you pick any 10-minute segment out of that podcast, Brandon's probably talking about 90% of it. Like, he flooded the podcast. The other fool, like, there was no kind of like agreement or like decision about what they were going to talk about in advance. And Brandon came with mad historical like history knowledge that iHypocrite like just did not have. So it was a pretty one-sided affair. Now there's a lot of people who seem to think that Adam 22, was siding with the white boy. I would like to clarify that this is not the case.
I'll have to run that back.
The reason why it might have appeared that way, though, was because Brandon was overwhelming homie with his narratives and just talking so much that I felt like there was like a variety of situations in which I sort of had to try to like kind of dive in the middle of them to try to like either like push back a little bit on Brandon, because it's like he'll just go on a 5-minute diatribe in which he'll make a ton of historical claims. And like some of them I'll be on my phone trying to chat GPT something, just trying to see like, is that true? Did the Jews really build the slave ships? And then by the time I even like figure out the answer on chat GPT, he's already like a minute and a half through like another argument. And it's kind of hard to even like fact check him because we're already so far past that. So I personally didn't feel like I was like getting behind the white guy. I definitely don't think I agreed with anything that he said that was like racist or whatever, but I did kind of feel like I had to sort of like suggest that it was his time to speak and stuff, because I just felt like Brandon was kind of
that's what you're there for,
drowning him out. Yeah, as the moderator, that's what you're supposed to do.
Right,
now,
right.
It's not like I was like, I didn't really fact check the white guy, but he didn't really like get a chance to say that much. There wasn't that much to fact check. Whereas Brandon made so many claims, many of which seemed a little outlandish to me, that it just seemed appropriate for me to, try to suggest that the other guy like get some points in or whatever. Now I am open-minded about the fact that I might have came off like I was a little too much in his side.
They on your ass.
I haven't seen it. I have seen people in the comments saying this. I obviously don't really give a but
I'm about to run that back. I'm about to watch it. You have to send me the link.
But people gonna run with that narrative anyway.
But your job is to moderate it though.
Right. My job is to try to like add some semblance of structure to it, because especially given that we didn't even know what we were going to talk about.
Some substance, some structure.
It's just kind of flying off the handle all over the place.
It's like if like Hitler was debating Kendrick Lamar, you feel me? And then like let's say Kendrick's just smoking Hitler, but you're like the moderator, so you have to like appear moderate, hence the name, right? So I feel like so Adolf makes a point, and you're like, oh yeah, he is right. You feel me? Like, hey, Jews are janky. Let's keep it.
No, but okay, Kendrick would have been iHypocrite because he was like not really talking that much. Whereas like you could imagine that Hitler probably was very verbose.
Hitler would be more verbose than Kendrick for sure.
Hitler seemed like he never shut up.
It was black belt Brandon for the W.
Yes.
I think that is the majority opinion from people who've seen it.
And also, I feel like this dude, iHypocrite, now, per my understanding, his primary like voice is on the X platform on Twitter, right? Like,
if you were to look at the iHypocrite Twitter account, for the most part, it's not even like, it doesn't even appear to be like a guy. It's a lot of memes. It's a lot of like just kind of, right wing, haha, like look at how dumb this girl is type memes. It's like if you really pay attention to it, you start to see like, oh, okay, he's like actual dude who makes content and he streams and everything like that. And obviously, but okay, part of the problem too is that yes, Brandon is a black dude, but he's also like a hardcore conservative, which is really probably like they would have rather seen iHypocrite arguing with a black dude who was like a fruity ass liberal like myself, because I think that people, when you have a black dude and a white dude and they both kind of agree that George Floyd's killer should be freed or pardoned. I mean, then are you really like getting both sides of the conversation right there? Not so much. And I don't know if Brandon actually said that, but
so I'm
he definitely
supposed
was
to debate
open-minded
Brandon tomorrow. As the Lush first Brandon debate potentially tomorrow.
Which I'm all about if we want to do that, but
What y'all gonna debate about though?
I have to dip by like 3 to bring my kids to dance class because mom's out of town. But either way, I want to be there for at least. I'm gonna be on the news either way.
Yeah, you should be like a part of it at some point.
But what is y'all debating about?
Well, there's several.
Yeah,
things
what are your key points?
Here's my.
We should write these down so that we try to hit them.
Here's the main thing that I want to debate with, bruh.
Y'all can't sound goofy, bro.
Shit, watch this. The number one point of contention I have with Brandon is he said that the number one negative thing to ever happen to the black community is hip hop. I want to debate that.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, that's a good topic.
I'll smoke your boots, Bucci.
I can see why you say that though, but
I can see why you say that too because you feel me. It's such a
you can't. I mean, you really can't say that. Like with the life, everything got pros and cons. It have its pros and it have its cons. Like that, and like you gonna say that because within the last few years, all these rappers who've been coming out of poverty and been dying, you know what I'm saying, you gonna try to blame it on hip hop because they in hip hop and they making music and stuff like that. But I mean, you can't blame that on hip hop.
No, like for instance, the only reason why Compton got the outlook it got is because of hip hop, NWA and shit. Compton got some of the biggest homes and beautiful homes over there. Like the music gave it a bad look. And I don't know, George Bush's.
That was a very different Compton.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was a very different
Compton. The airport ain't fuzz. I know that.
Okay, gangbanging existed for a long time before hip hop came around, and gangbanging definitely existed for a long time before people really started rapping about the streets. And when you look at like the type of gangbanging that is talked about in music now, it's way more explicit and specific than it ever used to be back in the day. I mean, when you listen to NWA, it's very general. There's no like so-and-so from down the street, which is a lot of what rap is these days.
Fuck the police.
Fuck the police.
There's definitely a lot of rap music that I think you would be.
Johnson of the police at the time. Now they do that because they know they ain't gonna bump into the police and they just in the studio.
Nah, but you know what he's saying though.
But I think there's a lot of current day rap music that I think it's like very easy to make the argument that this is a negative for society. But that being said, I don't think that you could say like all of hip hop is. If anything, it's like the gang influence on hip hop that is the thing. But also, it's like pretty easy to say that in this day and age, when it comes to popular rap music, at least that we talk about, it's like almost like 1-to-1 with street. Like
I'm gonna say it like this. Like this is just my opinion. Like from living and going through my struggles. Like it's tomato. That's just like you saying the same thing about the internet. I feel like our people are our people own worst enemy. Like you can't blame it on hip hop, bro. Like you know what I'm saying. Hip hop, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's giving you a voice, to speak and stuff like that, but that came by way of the East Coast, and them dudes who birthed that originally, like giving it the art form, which we call hip hop, they weren't even gangbangers. When it trickled down to the West Coast is what gave hip hop the gangbanger edge and stuff. And then when gangbangers started leaching out to different states and stuff like that and picking up, and a lot of these dudes don't gangbang, a lot of these dudes they block bang and stuff like that. But I feel like our people are our own worst enemies.